Hey everybody, this is Rycard here again, and today I'm bringing you the second team analysis video that I've done for this channel. If you're unfamiliar with how this works, I'm basically going to go through all the members of a team I've made, talk about what they do, what their sets are, how they function on my team, and their overall usefulness in the tier, which for the case of this video will be the underused tier. Now, if any of you have missed any of the last 4 battles I posted, they were all basically with this team with the exception of Bronzong, but I'll get to that in a second. And I thought I had a really successful run with this team, so I wanted to give you all a demonstration of basically what everything on it was. So here we're going to start off with my Bronzong, which as I said before, used to be Bisharp, but the physically defensive Bisharp didn't really work out that well for me. Bronzong just ended up fitting the role a lot better, so that's why I'm using it. And this is basically the physical wall of my team, or just one of the main Pokemon on this team to take physical hits, or special hits if it needs to, because that stat is pretty good as well for Bronzong. But I gave it 252 EVs for HP, to give that the max HP it can get, 252 EVs for its physical defense, and then 4 EVs into its attack just to give it a little bit more oomph into that stat, so to speak. And I give it a sassy nature to increase its special defense a little bit, and also lower its speed, along with dropping its speed IV to 0, which will in turn give me the most powerful Gyro Ball I could get at all times, which is one of its main attacking moves. Also with the attacking moves, I did give it Stealth Rock because this is the one Pokemon on my team that sets up entry hazards. I feel like it's always important to have a Pokemon that does this, even though it's annoying to have to always worry about it. Having Stealth Rock, Spikes, or Toxic Spikes are all incredibly helpful for any team, so I suggest you try and find something on your team that'll do that. But also with the moveset, I did pack Earthquake, which is really great in combination with Gyro Ball because a lot of the things that Gyro Ball is resisted by, Earthquake hits for super effective damage like Steel and Electric and Fire, which is really cool. So it's a pretty good combination, not the best, but again, Bronzong wasn't really meant to be an attacker on this team. It's more or less meant to just take physical hits. And also to round off the set, I gave it Toxic to allow it to get poison damage up on anything it might need to. And overall, this guy was just really successful on this team. It was able to be easily to switch, or I was easily able to switch it in on a lot of things because of its really good typing, and its immunity to ground, which is excellent because of the ability to levitate. And overall, I just really enjoyed using Bronzong. I've never really used one before, so this was one of the first chances I've had to really explore what it could do, and I was really impressed by it. So that is pretty much all I have to say about this guy. So moving on to my Mismagius. This is a Mismagius set that I've been using for a little while, but never really made it into like something I wanted to show a lot of people because I didn't think it was that special. But because it was on this team and it seemed to work out really well, I'll figure, might as well. So this is kind of a weird sub-Calm Minding Mismagius in the sense that it only has one attacking move, which you can see here. It has the moves Substitute, Calm Mind, and Shadow Ball, which are all pretty standard. And instead of having Hidden Power Fire, Fighting, I gave it Will-O-Wisp. Because to me, if you have the opportunity to be a sub-Calm Minder, anything you can do to either increase your physical defense or lower your opponent's physical attack is always beneficial. So having Will-O-Wisp to do that always seemed to work out for me really well. I know because its only attacking move is Shadow Ball, normal types can just come in and do whatever they want to this guy, or this, yeah, it is a guy. But overall, like, that didn't happen too often, and even when it did, I found out a way to deal with it. Overall, though, having Will-O-Wisp on the set over like Hidden Power Fighting turned out to be way more useful in my opinion. Also, just to explain the EVs a little bit, I gave it max speed because Mismagius is very fast and I wanted to retain that speed regardless of whether or not it was defensive. And then I just basically put 128 EVs into hit points and 128 EVs into defense to give it a little bit more bulk on that side, which, worked out even though it seems kind of weird on a Pokemon that is normally meant to just be a special attacker. But knowing me, I'm going to do something a little bit different than what most people normally do. And for me, this ended up working out really well. Unfortunately, though, a lot of the videos I put up involving Mismagius, it didn't really get to do anything. with the exception of the last one, but it definitely did. There was one match I had where I literally led off with Mismagius and then swept the entire team because they couldn't deal with the sub-Calm Minding or the Will-O-Wisp, and they didn't have a normal type, which was really funny. And that's not saying like that the person was bad for not having a normal type or anything. It was just really funny because the videos that I put up didn't really demonstrate what this Mismagius is able to do. But I really enjoyed using it, and it was a definite important member of this team. It's also Pax Levitate, which is going to be a theme with this team. And you'll see later when I show you the team analysis thing of like the immunities and resistances and whatnot, you'll see that this is a very, very useful Pokemon to have. But going up next, we're going to be looking at my Machamp. And this is a really weird Machamp. I don't know why I put the EVs into it the way I did. I can't really explain it to you other than the fact that it was just something different that I had in mind and I wanted to use it. This Machamp is basically meant to be not a Machamp. It is another Pokemon on my team with Substitute. And instead of being a Dynamic Punch, like No Guard Machamp, this is a Guts Machamp that also made use of Toxic as another weird move on it. The basis behind making this set for me was just because I'm sick of Burn, and having a Pokemon that will benefit from Burn um, seems to be something that a lot of people aren't expecting. Like if you put in a Machamp that has no guard and Dynamic Punch, they normally pack a Lumberry sometimes, most of the time. But if you have something with Guts that you would want to switch in on one of those moves, it turned out that this was just something a lot of people weren't prepared for, and having close combat, which is more powerful than Dynamic Punch, it was just something that a lot of people just would not expect and were, I guess, so to speak, screwed over by in a battle because I was just way more powerful than they were expecting me to be. Um, but basically, all my investment in the EVs is in HP and speed. And a lot of people expect Machamps to be slow, but I did not want mine to be, so it could outspeed a lot of other things, like, I don't know. But I didn't want it to be, or I didn't want it to succumb to a lot of walling Pokemon that would be able to take his hits, so that's also part of the reason for Guts, because a lot of those Pokemon, like Pack Toxic or something, and I just wanted it to be able to be faster and benefit from any kind of status that anybody wanted to induce. And so that's why I also have Toxic on it, because if a Pokemon that would be able to take Machamp's attacks really well wanted to come in, it obviously wouldn't be a Steel type because it's a fighting Pokemon, so it's going to be immune, or it's going to be hit by Toxic unless, of course, it was a Poison type. So that is basically the reasoning behind it. It's basically there to get a jump on anything that would normally counter Machamp, and that's why I love this set. Not really, I don't really have a good explanation for the way I EV'd the attack, defense, and speed. It's just kind of something that seemed to work out. Feel free to mess with that if you want to use a Machamp like this, but Close Combat and Payback were its main attacking moves, and that's just good coverage overall so that you could hit Ghost types and still have a really, really powerful fighting type move. But this Machamp was probably one of the most fun things to make on this team and the most fun thing to use because it was just so different than what you're used to seeing and surprised a lot of people. Up next, we have a Flygon, and this is just a basic Flygon. But the only difference is that I put an expert belt on it as opposed to a choice scarf or a choice band. And this turned out to be way more surprising than I initially thought it was going to be. Like, I don't understand. I guess people are just conditioned to believe that everything is going to be scarfed. So by not doing that, you're really screwing with the way they're thinking. And there were a few matches where I would kill something off with Fire Punch, and my opponent would switch into Kingdra. Like this happened a few times, and I would just outrage it, and it would die. And I thought that was funny that people just seem to have that kind of combination of something weak to fire and then a Kingdra. And Flygon was able to take complete advantage of that switch by coming in, by staying in and just switching up its moves. And you saw, I think it was in the third battle I put up of this team, where I U-turned, like I didn't have the choice item, obviously, so I was able to switch up freely between U-turn and Fire Punch in the last few moves to deal with the Steel type Bronzong and like an Exeggutor. So it was really cool just to have a Pokemon that is normally choiced, but be able to deal just as much damage anyways. Actually more if it was super effective because of the expert belt. But there's not really much to say about this Flygon other than that. So moving on, here is my Rotom. And this is also just a standard special attacking Rotom with a choice scarf. And normally I don't, or normally I do like to have choice scarfed electric Pokemon. I don't know why, this just kind of become a thing that I really like to use a lot. And Rotom is great because it also has the move Trick, which it can obviously give the choice item, which can ruin a lot of Pokemon's days by being locked in onto one move. And all I basically did with this Pokemon was just Volt Switch and Overheat. There were a few occasions where I did Hidden Power, and there were a few occasions where Trick really came in handy, but most of the time I was just making use of its special attack, and it worked out really well for that. Like having Stab Fire and Stab Electric type moves are really good. It's a really good stab combination. And also the fact that, it was scarfed, it was definitely a big help to have it outspeed a lot of things. And since my Flygon wasn't, I needed something on my team to deal with other Scarfers, and Rotom seemed to always do the job. The only bad thing about, I guess, a Heat Rotom is that it's weak to Stealth Rock, but that wasn't too big of a deal. And finally, we have my Milotic, which is a little bit of a weird Milotic. It's a standard moveset with Scald, Dragon Tail, Rest, and Sleep Talk, but the EVs are a little weird, and the item, of course, is very weird because it's a rocky helmet. But instead of just, maxing out defense or HP or whatever, I gave it basically maxed HP. I wanted it to be a little bit faster than normal Milotic, so I put a bunch of EVs into that, as you can see, 48. And then I just kind of split up the EVs between special defense and defense. The reason for that is just because I knew I wasn't going to be needing the defense EVs as much, but I wanted to be more defensive than most Milotic because of the Marvel Scale ability, which activates because of rest. And the reasoning why Rocky Helmet is on there is because if you're getting a physical defense boost by falling asleep, any damage your opponent will deal that's physical, they'll just be taking damage from hitting you. And I thought that was really cool. And this is kind of similar to the Miltank I had in the other team analysis video where I just had it to take physical hits, and because it's such a really good physical wall, it was able to make really good use of the Rocky Helmet, and I just love that item. I don't know why, but I feel like people should be using it more. But overall, this Milotic was very, very useful. It's probably the other most important defensive Pokemon on this team, other than the Bronzong, and they actually work really well together. As you can see, just because the only thing that Bronzong is weak to is fire, and Milotic resists that kind of thing. And Milotic's weak to grass, and Bronzong resists that. The only thing I guess that is missing there is electric, but again, my Flygon is immune to that. And overall, this Milotic just was really helpful and just a pain for a lot of people to deal with. This set is just incredibly annoying. But that's pretty much all I have to say about all of these guys individually. So let's head on over to the team builder, where you can see, I have everybody in here. Everybody has, or 4 out of the 6 Pokemon on my team have Levitate, which is something I mentioned in one of the last videos. And the reason why this is so good is because not only is everything basically immune to ground, but everything is basically immune to stealth or to toxic spikes and spikes, which are something that can be incredibly common in this tier. And the only things that aren't are Machamp and Milotic. Machamp gets a Guts boost from toxic spikes, and Milotic gets a Marvel Scale boost from toxic spikes, and also doesn't mind it because of the rest on it. So this team is just really well designed in terms of dealing with entry hazards, and I'm really proud of myself kind of for coming up with this. But if you take a look at the weaknesses and resistances type thing, you can see again, like the other video, nothing is weak to the same thing, and everything is resisted or immune in some way. I have 5 immunities on this team, and 4 of which are immune to ground. So it just worked out to be, oh wait, Ghost is the only thing I am not resisting on this team. Okay. But pretty much everything else is, and there are really only a few things that my team is weak to, which is awesome, and part of the reason why I really love this team. But that is pretty much all I have to basically say about this team. Most of it was pretty self-explanatory, but that's it for this video, guys. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.